This is Journey to Spiritual Greatness. I'm Skip.
And I'm Robin.
And it's time for transformation. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Skip. How are you?
I'm good. I am good. It's been, we're actually, I love having transparency in what we do. We are recording back-to-back shows like we always do. So we're actually coming off of the community show into the communication show. So I'm still good. I'm still really, really good. What has been your practices around like your me time? Because I am like becoming this Netflix kind of connoisseur. When I am shutting down and just want to be in my room, I'm like, I love me some Netflix, or I love like the Disney Channel. That's my me time besides the prayer and meditation. That's what we do. But the time I really want to check, what are you doing just to check out for you?
Let's see. Besides prayer and meditation, I have been reading. I enjoy reading actually a lot. And it's kind of a big deal, like with nobody, kids and husband and everybody, lets mommy have a break, then I get to, I enjoy reading. And obviously I love looking at, I'm kind of a nerd about this. I can nerd out really hard on cooking, like Instagram feeds and shows and cookbooks. I love anything cooking, which I don't watch a lot of TV. It's actually rare. I think I have some cooking shows recorded, and that's like a rare thing if I watch it, but it's just books for me. It's cookbooks. It's, little short clips of people making stuff. That's like really interesting to me. So that's something that that's kind of, what I would do if I have extra free time.
I've been reading a lot too, but I've been reading these books. I've been going back to some books I read a long time ago that I love so much, like Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye. If you ever get a chance to read that, it's really deep into this incredible journey of resilience of this in the 40s and the 30s of the people. So I'm reading that. I'm reading the autobiography of Malcolm X again, which I get so much inspiration from. I'm also reading this horror book because, that's my little go-to thing. I know I love horror films and horror movies. I know I can go there because I see,
do not like scary movies.
Well, there is this great new show that's on HBO called Lovecraft Country. And it's based on a book that was created by Matt Ruff a few years back. And it really is. It deals with race relations in the 40s, in the 50s and the 60s, and moving through that experience. But it's set in this horror genre, which is so incredible. And I love Jordan Peele and J.J. Abrams. I'm a big sci-fi guy. So and Misha Green from The Underground. So I'm enjoying that. It kind of like I can immerse myself and just float away. Because we're on Zoom. And do you have Zoom Butt yet? You know what Zoom Butt is?
With a what?
You know what Zoom Butt is? You don't know what Zoom Butt is?
Oh, you accidentally Zoom call someone?
No, Zoom Butt is when you stay online for so long and your cheeks and your ass gets all numb and your legs get numb because you've been on the Zoom call for way too long. That's what we call Zoom Butt.
No.
For real, that's what.
Okay, clearly I'm not on Zoom as much as you are because I haven't heard of that before.
My life is one big Zoom call these days. I have clients. On Mondays, I see 6 clients back to back on Zoom. And everyone likes to start the week off on Monday, so I'm just, okay, boom. So by the end of that, by like 7:30 on a Monday night, I'm like going, okay. But you get up, you learn how to move around, you learn how to walk. But when you're doing spiritual clients and you're sitting there, you don't want to move.
Right.
And then our church services now are on Zoom and everything is in. I wish I had some stock in Zoom. Do you have stock in Zoom?
No. You need to take your camera or your iPad, whatever, when you're doing your Peloton, your bike riding. I've seen it where you put it on the desk So you're like riding it, but you're also, it's only this part, right? It's the upper part you don't see, but the bottom part's like, right? And you're getting your workout in while you're doing your Zoom call. See, and then you get your fitness and your Zoom. Skip, I just gave
I
you
know
an
that would be
excellent solution.
great. That would be great. But it's so funny you mentioned Peloton. Peloton has it where you can only view Peloton on that big ass screen. And today I'm working out. I'm going. I wish I could just. I know you can hack into Peloton to create. You can go online with it. I know how to do it. So, but that's a great idea. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm gonna agree to it so I can get it done, and that's a great idea. Have you seen the videos on YouTube of the Zoom nightmare? The Zoom nightmare video. Go to YouTube and look for these videos. They're called Zoom nightmares, and people are doing stuff, and they don't remember that they're in a visual meeting. So these things are nightmares, but they're funny to watch. It's like, so please look.
I do. I like funny things. So I enjoy funny and
the Zoom nightmares. So we're talking about communication today because this is welcome to where we are, new ways of communicating. But I'm just kind of, let me put it this way. I have came to the realization that this is the new, and I don't want to call it the new norm. It's just where we are now. This is where we are, and it's online communication. It's online communication. But what is communication to you, and what is a good, effective way of communicating, would you say? So what is communication to you, and what's an effective way of communication?
Well, I'll say that I still feel new to the Zoom thing, even though I feel like I'm always on Zoom.
Yeah.
And because it's a very awkward thing to me, actually. I enjoy talking to people in person.
Why is it awkward?
It's just, I just want to talk to you in person or, so it's something. And I would probably, maybe if you went back to some of your clips, I know that sometimes when we've done Zoom calls, I have been making the funniest faces, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're on a Zoom call, Robin. Like, get it together. You're not.
Thank God we're only pulling audio, though. We don't pull the visuals.
Because you get distracted by that little box of yourself. So people have to turn it off so you can't see yourself. But I actually, because I don't know. This whole podcast was a very unique experience for me because I'm a pretty private person. And so to me, just, it was just like a unique experience. I'm getting better. And Skip's the king of Zoom. I learned a lot of things from him. And
what I love about what you just said, Robin, was that, and some of the listeners who've been following us through, this is episode 18 or 19. It's the last episode in season 1. Season 2 is coming around, and it was a gradual build into you accepting this place as a podcaster.
Yes.
And we had to flip the script because we were meeting in person in the beginning, which we had this energy. We had these great snacks going on. It was a special day at Robin's, y'all. We would record 3 or 4 in a row. It was a great day. And then we had to come to this. So I'm going to applaud you for stepping into this Zoom to really make this form of communication happen. Do you feel better? Do you feel good?
Thank you. I'm starting to feel better. And I know that you do with your other podcast, like a video. And so that will be my other graduation, is to actually see myself and behave appropriately with my facial expressions.
Do you remember when we were going to do a live event and I felt all this resistance from you? It was like, we got to go live. Remember we were going to do the live event?
Yeah.
We were going to do it. And it just wasn't time. And I believe that that's going to be a gradual build to it. I've been doing this for a long time in communication. I have a minor in communications from NYU and TV production. So for me, it was easy to fall into it. And I understand why the challenge of in the Zoom field, you said yes to a podcast, and now you're going to ask me to do it on Zoom? I get it.
Be prepared for a lot of facial expressions and hand talking a lot of
And that's
distractions on my
okay.
hands.
But that's the visual part of communication, and you
Mm-hmm.
are a visual communicator. I
Yes.
know what you're trying to say when I'm seeing your hands. And it's so funny too, because when we first started the podcast, when your visual was so incredible, you would slap the mic.
Yes, I would. I'd slap the mic. I'd hit things. It's just I'm a talker
It
of
was
hands.
great.
I
I love
mean,
it.
you have a joke with me, like if you drive in the car with me and
Yeah.
I'm car dancing, right? Jamie always says, put your protective eye gear on, your sunglasses, because Robin's hands are flying everywhere when she's dancing and feeling it and singing and talking. And
What is
so
that though? What are you doing when you're doing the hands and stuff? What is that for you?
I feel that it's just an extension of my communication.
Yes.
It's a visual extension of my words, and it's like the little je ne sais quoi, right? The little
Mm-hmm.
extra seasoning of when I'm speaking. So it's like enhancing. I'm trying to show you through visual cues
I
how much
love
I've been passionate by these things.
it. I'm watching you right now. See these hands? They are
Like a
amazing
soap opera
though.
on Zoom.
Or
Skip.
like a dance. You're in the middle of your dance. It is
Oh,
beautiful.
I feel it all through me when I'm like, I don't care where I'm at the store, in the car, standing in line. I mean, if I hear music or I feel the energy, and people love it. They're like, I wish I could express myself like that.
So you're talking about feeling it too, and that's another form of learning. It's the kinesthetic feel of something, the textile feel of it. But
Mhm.
then there's the visual. So would you call yourself more visual or more kinesthetic, or a combination of both?
Well, I think I'm a combination of things. I'm for
Okay.
sure strongly visual, but I'm also very tactile. I love to touch textures and kind of feel things with my hands. So I would say that those are my two really big ones. And if you're showing me something visually, I can get it. If you're explaining something auditory to me, you need to write it on the dry erase, or you need to like have a
Right.
picture with it. So I'm
I
very
hear it.
visual and tactile. If you explain a texture to me, interestingly, auditory wise, I can generally get it. So
I'm a
I think
combination
everybody has
of
a
both.
combination.
I'm a
Yeah,
combination of all three, but I
yeah.
had to learn to be, because
Hmm.
as a speaker, or teacher, I had to learn that not everyone learns the way I learn. I'm a visual
Exactly.
learner and an auditory learner.
Hmm.
I love to hear it, and I watch people's lips when they move.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
read your lips. So
Huh?
that's for me is visual, but then I had to really understand as teaching, how do I get people to feel it and feel it now through Zoom? How
Yes.
and so I'm finding the inflection of my voice allows people to feel where I'm going. How's
Yes.
that been for you, for people to feel what your message is, especially in the homeschooling world that you're in, and you're doing a lot of work with homeschooling? How do you get people to feel this in learning?
Well, I think you made a good point about learning. That was something I had to learn too. Is I had to learn that everybody learns differently, and
Yeah.
everybody can have a combination. They can have strengths in one, but not one way of learning is how it is across the board. And to alleviate that frustration for
Mm,
people, you have to
yes.
find a creative way to be able to kind of touch those kind of main learning ways. And I think
Yes.
that for sure, inflection in your voice, right? And then if you have the video, you can show that expression with your face. But that's
Mm,
another way of communicating, different emotions and feelings for sure, through like the
yeah.
auditory part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, talk a little bit about homeschooling. How has that shifted from now to this online presence? Has it always been online? I don't know. And I remember listening to the Mother Show, and you and Wendy had these great things about these conversations about
Mhm.
homeschooling and kids and everything. How has it shifted? Or are you just doing the same thing you've always done?
I'm doing, it's, I, my kids do utilize online resources.
Okay.
And but for us, there hasn't been a huge change because we aren't having to go, and they do have classes. Actually, there is a platform that they can take an online class, and it's, like a smaller group of students, and for Zoom, like a Zoom call, like you're in a classroom. And when this all happened, when the whole, thing shut down where you couldn't, my kids actually also take some classes at a campus. And so that went into some of the classes that they were able to do went into Zoom. And my kids actually weren't super inspired by that because they enjoyed having that interaction and that more hands-on and interaction in person with their classes, with specific classes that they were taking.
Right.
And so for us, the transition where these kids have to learn in a larger platform for their classes, we haven't had to, fortunately, we haven't had to deal with that. But I've been able to offer some insight because they do have some experience with classes, but it was more, a learning class and not like, it's kind of more of a fun thing, right? As opposed to like more of a mandatory, like you have to be in class kind of thing online. So I've been able to offer some insight and patience and advice because there's a lot of families really having a hard time with that transition. So a lot of frustration.
Yeah, so what is the hard times they're having? Because I hear these nightmares of people, of their kids, they're not doing the lessons. They don't want to sit there. And the mothers don't have time to sit there with them because they're doing their own work online. And you got to make sure, and I'm hearing these stories. So what is it because it's new or is it because kids don't like doing online learning? What do you think the issue is?
A combination of both. I think that, this is something that everyone's had to pivot to. Even the teachers are having to have to relearn how to do their lessons, not in front of their kids, but through, this avenue of Zoom. And I think that you can have a lot of distractions around you when you're at home. And so maybe the level of commitment is not the same because you can kind of, act like you're paying attention, but you're doing other, playing games or something else on the side. And then you have the energy of the parent that's frustrated because they're like, I have to do work too, but I'm trying to understand this and make sure you're doing it. So I think that it's new for everyone. And I just tell people, you know what, just do your best. Just take it one day at a time. Be patient. Everybody's experiencing this, right? So don't beat yourself up that it was like the worst day ever and you give up and you throw in the towel, right? Like just keep moving forward. You'll find your balance. It'll work. It start to like work itself out. This is all new for everyone. The teachers, the schools, all the students, and they just have to adjust. The kids don't get to see their their friends sit next to their friends. So it's an adjustment for everyone. So just take it one day at a time, right?
I'm sure you've experienced both the amazing Zoom experiences with learning online and some of the less amazing, I should say.
Yes.
What are your tips? What are your tips for successful Zoom communication?
Well, I would say that, and this is a tip from Skip, that not being on your phone, I didn't really think it was a big deal not using my phone. I just used it out of sheer convenience, but sometimes that may be your only way, to do Zoom. So I say anything kind of, removing distractions, being in a space where there's not a lot of distraction around you, the noise, right? Making sure I don't wear headphones, but Skip does, but making sure that it's a quiet space that if you need to use headphones to drown out exterior sounds, we learned that it's better recording when I'm on not my phone, but the computer, laptop, or the iPad.
And you were saying distractions, and you were saying distractions too. The other distractions I've seen people on Zoom calls, they're cooking in the they're literally cooking.
That's okay.
I know, in the middle of a Zoom call, you're in the middle of a Zoom meeting, and are you cooking? Come on, be present. I mean, come on now.
Be present. Being
So
present.
it's even a distraction for the instructor who's who's facilitating classes or facilitating church, which I do as a minister every Sunday, to watch someone who's not being present. It's like it's a distraction for us.
Absolutely. So that's a big one. Being present,
Yeah.
obviously, is a big one. And it's easier for you to be present if you don't have other distractions around you. And I know
Yeah.
sometimes it's not always easy because some people don't have a separate room that they can go into or separate space, right? So just
Yeah.
try
What
to
would you say
minimize the
to people who don't
distractions.
have the room? What do you say
Right.
to people who don't have that space? What do they do? Because
So
this
I would,
quarantine is very challenging being in the same house with, you have a lot of people in your home.
yes.
But finding a space to do a podcast or I'm in my room today because this is the more quiet space. But how do people find their space?
So I would say, kind of dedicate a time. If you
Yeah.
don't have a designated space that you can create for yourself, then I would say set a designated time. Let your household, let everybody know, right? Like when I'm doing this, I have my headphones on at this time, right? That I have to be
Skip's
focused on
room.
a call. Yes, just again, put a sign up. If you have to, whatever you need to do that, unless it's an emergency, obviously, right?
Yeah.
If you have your kids at home, your family, that's okay always.
Right.
But designate a time and kind of tell them like, you have to act like, I know you can see me, but act like I'm not here and I'm in my office or I'm at work. Even I've seen some really creative solutions where people have gotten at the Michaels at the craft store, they have
Yeah.
the
Oh,
foam core,
yeah.
the trifold, right? So when sometimes you're taking a test, or you're behind those things, so they will put it up so they can't even see anything but the computer and
Love
this. And
that.
I've seen parents do that with their kids taking classes at home, and so that kind of creates almost like a visual little space for you. So people are getting really creative, So you have to set that time. You have to be like, I'm not available at this time. And if you don't have
And
a designated space, and you still have to do it in your designated space, right?
you
I have
still
to set
have to.
aside. Yeah.
One of the things I'm learning about giving workshops and seminars and working with people online is you got to have some lighting. And here's my tip. If you have light coming from the behind of you and you don't have anything to balance it back, like I'm like Robin's pointing.
Like
Here's a big tip.
open drape. It's my glowing lights.
But it's glowy from the back and it blocks your face in the front. So you've got to have a balance. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you a demonstration that no one else will be able to see but myself and Robin. I'm going to show what happens. Here's a demonstration. Now look at this. See how I got dark?
Oh yeah.
Because the light floods in. So you want to have, now I'm going to show you. This is a tip I found from Oprah. Oprah told me this tip. Turn off your backlight and only have your front light come this way if you're doing a visual presentation. Like
Yes.
y'all who just listen to that, you won't even see it because we're audio. But check out your lighting and get a microphone. Invest
Yes.
into a microphone. If you're giving seminars and you're giving workshops and you're doing a podcast, you gotta get a microphone better than one that's in your computer. That's a
Yes.
big one. So lighting, mic, sound, get yourself your space. If you don't have a space, you put up the pillars, get a
Yes.
sign.
Drapes, whatever you gotta put up. I mean, one of the, I know, for me, some of the things that are really a distraction, if I'm taking a class or I'm watching something, is if I can't hear you clearly, right? So
Yes.
the connection, if the connection's not good, or you're talking like this, like you're in a tin, and I'm like, I can't hear you.
I love it.
And I'm really straining, so I can't get the best out of what you're trying to explain or show me if it's a class. And I'd say, the dark, right? If it's too dark and you can't see either, because I'm very visual. But I think that that's a really hard thing if I can't hear you properly or clearly articulating, right? Speaking and having good connection. And then obviously preparing. You need to
Yeah.
practice. Don't do it the first time when you're going to do a class in like 20 minutes and then you're like, lights and everything. Like you need to prepare ahead of time.
Prepare. Have an
You know,
outline. Here's the
make sure the
biggest
lights
debate,
right.
though. You want to
Yeah.
hear the big debate of Zoom?
What?
Those virtual backgrounds. Have you seen the virtual
Oh
backgrounds?
yeah, I love those.
Oh, you love those. I hate them.
I
I think some were creative, but some were distracting, though.
Yes, yes.
It,
The bad
I
ones
mean,
are distracting. They're
the
like
bad
you're
ones.
laughing the whole time.
And then if you notice, if you move out into one space, part of you are cut off, you look like you disappeared. You got to go back into the line of the camera. I think those are the most distracting things ever. And okay, I'm calling people out. Those who find those incredible home and garden pictures of these big, fabulous homes. And I know where you live, yo. Your background, your home it's Oprah's mansion. Child, that's Oprah's home. And I'm like, oh, really? Really? You're gonna place yourself?
I don't personally use them unless I'm trying to be really funny. If I'm trying to be funny, then I'm trying to maybe shift the energy or make something light of something, then I will put on a really funny background, and then I'll be like, "Look at me! I'm walking around in the forest, right?" And then it's like a funny thing, but I don't do it in my normal Zoom calls, because they are a distraction to me too, to know that you're not really there. And
it is so funny though. This is the time that we get to really kind of look at how communication is so important. May it be the visual or the lighting or listening or hearing or feeling through this age that we are. We are in the online communication age. So in this space, and because this is a journey to spiritual greatness, how does communication translates into spiritual? And we'll end with that because we're coming to the end of the podcast. But how do we translate all this into a spiritual practice?
Right. Well, I think obviously, utilizing Zoom is a great platform to reach larger audiences or connect with your clients or potential clients. And I think it's a great opportunity to share your wisdom and your knowledge. For you also do these great meditations and these yoga. So we get to it's in your beautiful backyard. So we get to feel like we're in Skip's backyard doing all our poses. And so you just kind of have to make the best of what it is. And I think that, I've had to also, I offer angel guidance. And so I have to do that instead of being in front of a person in my studio. Now it's like, oh, okay, so here's your car, right? Like, this is what, and so you have to just kind of adapt. And I've had to go from doing in-person Reiki sessions to distance Reiki sessions. So I set up a time and a schedule the same way I do in the studio, and then I communicate with you. Some people just want to talk on the phone or, text, and but some people want to see in person so we can ask questions as if you were sitting in front of me in the studio.
Exactly.
And we can communicate and talk about things before and after the session. So you just have
very
to
important. What you just said was that we talked about before we got on the show. I was the small little version of me on your screen, and I'm saying no. I do the speaker view. That really is. Here's my hands, visual hands here. I think it's so important to really feel the connection. I want to minimize me and make it you because it feels more personal.
Right. I agree with that. I agree.
Because if I'm watching me on this side and I'm watching you on this side, I'm going to go, well, let me straighten up my glasses.
You start fidgeting. That's what I learned is that I almost I need to be the little teeny box, or I need to just not see myself, because you start getting fidgety or distracted, and you'll go, oh, this hair, this hair.
That's in that place over there.
Right. And so you start to get distracted, and I like myself in a little teeny box. And that's a funny story, because I think I told you this, how I used to think when we did the Zoom, that I really look like, I didn't have to do the whole gamut of hair and makeup because you didn't see me that much. So I'm like, oh, it's just a teeny box. You can't see me. And then I remember doing Zoom, and they showed me, I was on this massive screen, and I almost like, what? You can see everything on that screen. Every freckle,
which always so funny when we began to do this podcast was we were like, do I have to be on camera? Do I have to be on camera? And are we going to put this out visual? Is hair makeup? It's like so
I'm
funny.
Like, I got to prepare. I have to prepare, even if it's not recorded video. I love it. Have to put the I got to put some lipstick on. The hair can't be like crazy bed hair, right? Like I need to look decent hair out.
Oh, again, I always finish every call, every podcast with you that I learned so much. And this too, so much fun, so beautiful. And I want to remind our listeners, this is the end of our season 1. We did really good. This is a beautiful season 1. I'm looking for season 2 as it's going to expand. But what I want everyone to do who's listening to this podcast, please share it with your friends. Get people to follow us, re-listen to the podcast. I'm going back, re-listening to some of the first ones we did, and even to this time, very powerful stuff. And we began this journey at the beginning of COVID. And we were like, in December was our first one we recorded. Mm-hmm. And in January, we were hearing about this craziness called COVID. Right. So I'd love to see this journey. And here we are. This is going to be released actually at the end of September. This one should be released. We can all look back at what was that journey from January to September. And I am ready to go by 2020. What about you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready?
I tell people all the time, I am breaking up with 2020. We're done. We are finished. And I have dumped you, and I'm
2020.
I'm looking ahead to 2021.
And remember one of the very first conversations we had in 2020. This is our year. This is going to be amazing. This is like 2019 is done, people.
Best year ever.
2020, man. I got to go back to those podcasts again and really listen to those podcasts and see where we are. Again, and I know you know this, but I'm going to ask you, how can people find you?
You can find me on Abundant Love 444 at Instagram.
Yes.
And I'm not on, obviously Journey to Spiritual Greatness on Facebook and Instagram. But that's where you can find me. I'm getting better at posting. I'm inspired.
You are. Every week you said that you are. I'm actually less and less. I use Facebook Live to do a live web show. It's called Two Black Authors, and Monk was on our podcast. Mm-hmm. And you'll remember Monk is a great transformational coach. So I use Facebook for the live thing, but I don't really dance in Facebook all that much. I'm like Instagram for me, and social media for me. I have a learning curve with social media and finding my space, and because I believe that social media will humble you in such a way, and that's another story. Maybe we'll do social media as one of our first ones in the next season.
Yes, that was a good idea. That's a good idea.
In live, are you going to do a live event with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, Journey to Spiritual Greatness will come to you live in season 2, I promise.
Right.
You can find us, follow all of us. Please follow me on Instagram, it's Rev Skip, and follow me on Facebook, it's Rev Skip Jennings. And the Journey to Spiritual Greatness, and it's just, we have so much to give, so much to love, and we just thank you for following us in this first season.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you.
It was amazing. I'm so happy.
Oh, thank you, Skip, for inviting me.
I know. And more to come, you guys. More to come until next season.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Abundant love. Thank you.
Remember to subscribe where you listen to your podcasts.
And follow us on Instagram and Facebook.